Thank you, Mariah. So I've come here tonight to share a story about a recent experience that has totally transformed me and changed my perspective on the whole concept of asking for help. A little bit of background: I'm 48, I'm divorced, have no kids. I'm a passionate cyclist, the classic mammal, as you might have heard, middle-aged man in lycra. I cycle about 12,000 kilometers a year. I think of myself being quite healthy. I live well. I look after myself. And friends would probably describe me as being quite independent-minded, quite stubborn, quite self-reliant. I run my own business, so a good example of that is I would build my own website, and I would stubbornly keep going at it even though I hate it. I don't know if any of you use Wix, but it makes me feel sick even thinking about it. But I would still pursue it in that sense of I don't want to come across as weak. I work in brand and marketing. This should be something I'm skilled at, but I don't enjoy it, but I keep going. Or another example would be, let's say I was sick or had the flu, and neighbors and friends would then say, "Oh, can we pop round and visit? Can we drop something off for you or make some food?" And I'll be like, no, don't worry, I'll be okay, I'll manage. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to put you out. So it's with that sort of context in mind that 6 weeks ago, I had a bit of a shock. I woke up on a Friday morning and I had bruises all over my body, completely unexplained. I had mouth ulcers, blood mouth ulcers, and blood blisters on my tongue. And at that point I was, by my house guard said, "You need to get to hospital." So I was urgently admitted to hospital and diagnosed with cancer and a rare autoimmune disease. And for a healthy mammal, that was quite a shock. And the period after that, I was overwhelmed by the amount of support that I had from friends and family. And it was during one of those sleepless nights whilst I was lying there with an IV in my arm and nurses coming along, these amazing angels that come along and look after you every 20 minutes and prod and probe you and take blood tests. And during these sleepless nights, I had this feeling of, what do I do with this overwhelming amount of support and help? Old Ashley, I call him Ashley 1.0, would have been like, "Oh, this is too much," and probably pushed it away a bit. But I made this mental chip change choice of, I'm going to gratefully receive and accept every single one of those gestures. And this had two amazingly profound effects on me. The first was, I felt this overwhelming sense of positivity by just accepting it, of okay, I'm not going through this alone. I feel like I'm supported. I feel like people are looking after me, to the point where friends would call up and say how you doing? And I'd be like, I'm buzzing. I'm like, I've got this amazing energy. I'm feeling really positive. And they're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I've got actually some really good drugs. But and the second, I'd call it revelation, and this is what's really changed me. It was this reflection on the concept of when people offer help, that if I gratefully receive it, then clearly I'm going to benefit. That's obvious. But there's this thought of the person who's offering the help most likely is going to feel good as a result of me gratefully receive it and have a sense of joy or pride in just helping out someone that they care for, just caring for their fellow human being. And this was a game-changing thought. And it left me with this feeling of, hold on, by me simply taking that choice of, I'm going to gratefully receive that act of help, I'm going to win and the other person's going to win, so why wouldn't you do that? And it sort of left me with this way of now reconsidering and rethinking about whenever this opportunity happens, and actually to trigger it even more by going, actually, I'm actually now going to ask for help to be this sort of catalyst for this exchange of like, well, I'm going to benefit because I'm going to feel like someone's looking after me, and the other person most likely is going to feel good. And I've got a good example of actually when I had to do this sort of sense check within myself of about 3 weeks after I left the hospital and I was going through my first round of chemo. I'd had poor sleep. It's one of the side effects, 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, and it was Koningsnacht. And I got to this point of like, I was trying to resist taking any sort of heavy sleep medication, but I thought, okay, I need to get a couple of proper nights sleep. And by the time I made that decision, it was like 5 to 6, and I was like ran to the ATOS, and the ATOS had just closed, and I was like, oh, bugger. This is like going to be now 2 more nights of like shitty sleep. And then I just thought to myself, hold on, Ash, why don't you ask for help? And we've got this WhatsApp group with neighbors in my building, and this would be like old Ash would never have like reached out, but I thought, fuck it, I'm going to put a message out there and say, does anyone have any like sleep medication, some sleep aids? And the response was overwhelming. It was like within 5 minutes, someone said, oh, I've called Albert Heijn and they're open till 10 and they've got like melatonin. And I'm like, wow, do you want me to pick it up on the way home from work? I'm like, yeah. Another friend said, we've got some Nitol, some Valium, just come round and knock. So I think, yeah, great night ahead. And it just gave me this trigger of going, you just need to ask. And it's out there in abundance. There are people, most of us out there have this instinct of wanting to help and look after their fellow human being, but you have to trigger it. You have to take the initiative of asking. And yeah, it's with this in mind that I've just had this complete chip change of changing the way I think about, as I say, asking for help or accepting it when it's offered. And the other sort of revelation that I think is a beautiful extension of this is that this isn't just a potential for 2 people to have a win-win and feel good. I saw it as being there's a potential for this to have a ripple effect. So the person that's offered the help and ends up feeling good and having a sense of pride and doing the right thing is most likely to go about their day with a bit more positivity, bit more patience, generosity, so the people they're in contact with are going to feed off that, and they might feel more inclined to ask for help and then trigger another exchange where someone else can feel good from offering help, and so on and so on. So you have this chance of creating like a pandemic of feeling good around the world. So why wouldn't you do that? And the beauty is that I and every one of us have this opportunity for being that sort of trigger list, that trigger for this like this tsunami, to use another topical word, of feel good around the world. And this is where I've sort of landed upon, and I've come to here to have this opportunity where I feel incredibly passionate and energized to spread this my experience and what it's taught me and how it's changed me, to share it with as many people as possible who might be like Ashley 1.0, who's this, stubborn, stoic, and I can get through life just by myself, and perhaps just change that little instinct, that chip in your mind as to if someone offers help, perhaps just say, yes, that's lovely, or if you need help, just ask, and you get the chance to experience what I call the gift of asking for help.